Hello, and welcome to Behind the Data with me, Glen Pereira. Today we're diving into key factors shaping the energy market since the last update at the end of July. Our top three drivers behind prices for August have been geopolitics, French nuclear, and liquefied natural gas, also known as LNG. First, geopolitics. August was packed with events that moved the market. At the start of the month, the US rolled reciprocal tariffs and announced new tariffs on more than 90 countries that had failed to reach a trade agreement by the 1st of August deadline. That triggered an initial pullback in prices. The bigger driver, though, came through Russia-Ukraine ceasefire talks. President Trump and President Zelensky discussed the possible path to ending the conflict. While the looming 8 August sanction deadline on Russia kept markets on edge. Adding to the pressure, President Trump announced an additional 25% tariffs on Russian goods over its imports of Russian oil. At the same time, signs of progress began to emerge, including constructive talks between US envoy Witkoff and President Putin, and Trump's own comment suggesting a meeting with Putin was likely. This raised hopes that sanctions could be delayed, which pushed prices lower. Losses deepened after reports that the Washington and Kremlin were working on a deal over Ukraine territory. With the summit potentially around the corner, and when no new US sanctions were announced on the deadline day, markets stayed under pressure. In the run-up to the summit between President Trump and Putin, prices came under further strain. On the very day of the talks, even before they began, some contracts fell more than 4%. Overall, from the first sign of progress in Witkoff and Putin discussion through the Alaska summit itself, prices fell more than 10%. Further talks between President Trump, Zelensky, and EU leaders followed soon after. And much like Washington Kremlin discussions, they produced no concrete outcomes or guarantees. The lack of progress pushed prices higher as attacks on energy infrastructure continued between the two countries. Prices initially found support from the delayed ceasefire talks, but fell again late August as the first sanctioned Arctic LNG cargoes docked in China. At least 5 shipments are en route to Asia after President Trump's 15 August meeting with President Putin, with the Arctic Moon tanker marking the first clear sign of softer US sanction enforcement since November 2023. The second key driver in August was French nuclear and temperatures. A heat wave swept across continental Europe and UK with temperatures well above seasonal norms at times. This boosted gas-fired power generation demand for cooling, while also putting pressure on nuclear generation. As rising river temperatures restricted output, adding to supply strain, EDF was forced to shut multiple units at Gravelin after jellyfish clogged the cooling water intake, further curtailing supply as shown on screen. During the first 10 days of August, persistent low-pressure system brought stronger than normal winds, boosting wind generation and pushing day-ahead prices down to low as £16 per megawatt hour. As the low-pressure system moved away and high-pressure system built in, winds dropped below season norm, reducing generation and driving day-ahead prices higher. The third and final driver was LNG. There were several disruptions at US LNG terminals as seen in the chart, but the impact on prices were limited as most outages were short-lived and the overall risk remained low. At one point, there were concerns that ex-Hurricane Erin could track towards the US Gulf Coast and threaten key LNG facilities, but that risk quickly faded, and even so, the market remained alert as any prolonged disruption during the peak storage filling season, especially with Norwegian maintenance set to begin, would have posed much greater threat. Looking ahead into September, one key factor to keep an eye on is further progress on the Russia-Ukraine ceasefire. It's a very much wait and see, but if trilateral talks between President Trump, Zelensky, and Putin are scheduled, it will signal a real movement towards a ceasefire. We have already seen how sensitive prices are to these developments, and any firm carrying guarantees or a concrete summit date could drive fresh market moves. Thank you for your time, and I hope you found this update useful.